My name is Ronnie. I am a donor egg mom in waiting, and what that just means is I was told by my doctor that in order for my best chances to conceive was through donor conception. So that's what I did. I never tried with my eggs. I went straight to donor. I got a donor and did 3 transfers and ultimately had miscarriages. I failed one, and I'm on the road to transfer number 4. So I actually, for the first time in my journey, I'm actually documenting it. So if you want to check that out, you can look on my page. Without further ado, I want to introduce Dee. Now, I want you guys to understand that a lot of the stories that we have been doing are successes, and it's all great. We did one with Kati, who was still in the middle of her storm, and now we have Dee, who is gracious enough, and I mean that. I want this room filled with love for Dee, because this is what she's doing right now is not easy. This is what truly go get your baby looks like. Because when you don't know that there is a baby at the end of this tunnel, it is hard to share your story, because you don't know where you're going to ultimately end up. So I just want y'all to just love on her as much as you can, because she is brave. I asked her before, did she want to still do it? And she said yes. Because both of us just feel that someone needs to hear this story. So without further ado, I want to introduce y'all to Dee. And I'm just gonna say, before I met her, like, look, Dee is she's one of my little mentees, okay, y'all? I had a really hard time with Dee. We used to have Zoom meetings, and I was like, Dee, I need you to get it together. And she was like, okay, I'm gonna get it together. And then she didn't get it together. And I was like, Dee, we don't have time. Like, we need to get it together, okay? And she was like, well, I just gotta go get this. I was like, Dee, you need to get it together. And so she finally started getting it together. I was so proud of her. She did. She got it together. And she is a part of the Every Shade family. And she came in. I honestly don't even know how you came into the group, but she is one of our most active members that we have. And she always is telling people what to do because someone told her what to do, and she pays it forward. That's what I love about Dee. She pays it forward. Whatever she has learned, she like, inbox me, I got you, girl. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Dee, so where you want to start at today?
All right, so first off, thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for the platform. Thanks for everybody who joined. I'll start kind of semi in the middle, not too far behind. Sharonda had mentioned that I gave her a hard time initially. I became a part of the group in 2001, and I didn't even know I had been in the group that long, because at that time, that's when I was starting to experience issues with my cycle. So I'm a backup. I'm a little of a late bloomer when it comes to the process of being to the point of wanting to have children. I didn't get my first boyfriend until I was 27. So I was a little bit late in the game. So, that from, 26 on, that's when I got in relationships and like really thought that having a child would be something that, I wanted to do. I've always wanted to be a mom, not because of like anything, some people were little girls and they've always wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be a mom because I have a godsend of a mom, and I've always wanted to be the kind of mom that she was to me to someone else. And so I was diagnosed with having fibroids when I was 23. There were 3 small ones, and so they never thought that it was an issue. They said that the location of one of them may cause me problems. But at 23, I didn't have a boyfriend. I wasn't doing anything. So I didn't, that was not my concern. I wasn't thinking about it. Never thought about fertility or any issues that I could have later on. So fast forward to 20, so a little bit afterwards, I started to have issues where I would have a cycle and I would be in extreme pain like a week after. Like I would have back pain, shooting numbness down my leg. So they thought that it was potentially endometriosis. So that's when I really started kind of looking into like what's going on with me, getting checked and things like that. Um, because I was not in a relationship but having issues and pains, I was put on Lupron to stop my cycle to not have me in pain. During that time, I ended my first relationship, didn't see any prospects, so I just began to start traveling the world and doing different things, not even thinking about fertility, freezing eggs, any of that, because that wasn't something that I thought about, wasn't something I was exposed to, wasn't something that was discussed. So it wasn't on my radar. I'm thinking, okay, I got time, no problems. And so as I started to get older, I started to have issues with my cycle where it wasn't coming on regularly. And was in my second relationship. That didn't last. So I was back single again. So again, wasn't even thinking about it. Not even, not on my radar. I'm like, I'm 32, 33. I got time. So I'm traveling, saving, bought a house, just, living my life, thinking, okay, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So 35, 36, my cycle really, really started to have a mind of its own. And so I said to myself, I'm 39. When I get 39, if I'm single, I'm just going to be a single mom by choice. Like if I'm single, I'm just going to go and do it because I'm not going to wait too long. I ended up getting in a relationship at 39. He wanted to have kids. So it was like, okay, here we go. He sought me out. I'm like, okay, well, it's happening. I'm a little bit later but okay, I still got my cycle. Everything good to go. And I talked to my doctor, my OB, my gynecologist, and was like, I think I want to have kids. Just okay, you're not too old, start thinking about it. But at the same time, my cycle was definitely not regular. So we discussed it. She did some testing and found out that my FSH, which I never knew anything about, was extremely high. It was in the 60s at that time. So she was saying that she was concerned and she wanted me to think about going to a fertility specialist to check things out. My AMH was very, very low and my FSH was very, very high. And so she was like, you're in the range of like perimenopausal, And so I was like, what's that? Didn't even know anything about it. So I went to Shady Grove, which is a big fertility clinic here in the DC metropolitan area because I'm in the DMV area. And I got tested. He did the blood work. He called me, but he made me feel like I was just a number. He was like, your FSH is high and your AMH and things aren't communicating. So yeah, maybe you can get pregnant. You got possibly a 1% chance. I did the ASG. They, I didn't have any blockages. They tested my follicles. At that time, I had follicles. So I'm thinking, okay, well, let me try. And, but he said he went to either adoption or donor eggs.
So somebody asked in the chat, what is your number supposed to be at because it kept saying your FSH is high. So FSH is follicle stimulating hormone, which just basically means that it stimulates the ovaries to produce eggs so that you can ovulate.
Yes.
But after it gets to a certain range, and it's usually over 15, it's not impossible. That's why it's not impossible, but it gets harder for you to ovulate. So as she's saying that her periods were messing up, her cycles were off, that just means that her body is working harder to ovulate. So and doctors, most REs won't even bother when it's 15. Some of them may go to 20, but 60, they're going to be like,
right.
No. Because your body's already pushing to make
Right.
to grow follicles. Okay,
Yeah.
so your body's already trying its best as it can. All they're doing is giving you medicine to do the same thing. So if your body can't do it, most of the time the medication can't do it either. It doesn't necessarily, honestly, it leads to most of us have no periods. So the higher your FSH is, most of us don't have cycles. Because basically your body is telling you what it's supposed to do, saying,
Yep.
this is over, come to the end of the road. So no more cycles. It's pretty much what it boils down to, is you're going into menopause.
Yeah. And so somebody had said, did you have heavy? I had heavier cycles because I had fibroids.
Right.
So I always had a heavy cycle because of the fibroids. Even though they were small, they caused me to have really heavy bleeding. But yeah, so for me to first find out about fertility or be exposed to FSH, AMH, LH, I already started at a 60. And
Right.
so I'm doing all this research. What I do, I'm hopped online, how to decrease your FSH, what supplements, so I went down the whole rabbit hole.
So how much wheatgrass did you take?
Oh, I was taking 2 to 3 grasses every day. I did wheatgrass, I did bargaining, I did what is it? Solarium,
Chlorophyll.
yes, I did. I think it's like mothers. It was like a program. I think it was like Mother's Nature or Mother's something, where you get like a number 4, number such and such. And I did everything. I did herbal teas, mama teas. I did supplements. I did acupuncture. For a long time, that period, I was trying to do everything. I was in denial. I was like, I can't do donor eggs. That's my genetics. I can't do that. So I tried everything even up until 2022. I paid $1,400 for a program that's supposed to help women with their cycles return, where they did acupressure and they did the some heated thing you're supposed to put on your stomach, and it was just all the things. But I'd already been 8 months without a cycle when I started. And to only find out that they say, oh, well, this may work for you. They didn't tell me that before. And of course, it was non-refundable.
Somebody said them supplements be something else. I got a whole cabinet full of them. Listen, I got a whole drawer of supplements. I just look at them and they look back at me because I just cannot. I don't even want to take my prenatal. Like, I don't want to take that.
It was a lot that I tried to do. So when I came back into the group and just kind of sat back and kind of observed, because I knew I couldn't afford it, even to go through the donor egg route. I was like, I can't even afford this. So like, how would this even be possible? So I ended up getting a job, and they had a $25,000 fertility coverage, but it didn't cover donor eggs. And so I jumped on the live, and if you remember, Sharonda, I was not in belief that getting a job quickly, day one benefits. I was like, that's too good to be true. Because for me, I've always felt that I was not like lucky. Like the good things never came to me. Like I wore glasses at a young age. I had braces. I didn't have a boyfriend until I was 26. So everything that everybody else was getting and having, I didn't have that. So I was just like, I'm the unlucky one. So I know I can't find me a job. Like, it's not gonna happen for me. Like, alopecia, I lost my hair. So it's just like, I just didn't think that it would work for me. Like, before I even thought about buying or purchasing donor eggs, I even attempted to, like, people who said they wanted to donate, I reached out to them, but they always ghosted me. So I figured that they wouldn't want to choose me because I would be a single mom. I just ended a 4-year relationship last year. And so it was just a lot going on. I just didn't think that anything was going to come of even attempting to try to get a job. And I just didn't think it would work for me. So that's why I didn't believe that it was going to work. So I'm like, so how did they do that? So I already got a full-time job. How's my insurance going to go with that? They're not going to check. It was just a lot, and I was just in doubt. And so for a while, I kind of just sat on the idea. For at least a year, I was seeing people talk about their Amazon babies, and I just didn't invest myself because I didn't think it was real. I didn't think it would happen. So I could have been on this journey a year ago, but I didn't, like I said, I'm not the one that's chosen. If I used to feel as though, I wasn't chosen in relationships, I wasn't chosen on jobs that I got let go from. And so I just didn't think that being able to get a job that easy, I didn't think it was going to happen for me. And so I took a chance. Of course, I prayed after I kind of moved past the genetics, because I always thought, I wanted to pass on maybe my eye color, which I got from my grandmother, who's still alive. She's 92. And so I'm like, that'll be something that I can share with my child. So I was stuck on also the genetics. But then, like I said, after prayer and just realizing that I wanted to be a mom, and this may just be the way that God wanted me to become a mom, to have a testimony. It's never been easy for me. So, why would I think that this process was going to be easy, going through all that I went through? My sister, my twin, she has 2 kids. She didn't have any issues with having children. My grandmother had 10 children. My aunts had 6 and 7 kids. My cousins are popping out babies left and right. So I didn't think that, something like this would happen to me, but in not being exposed, not knowing anyone who's going through stuff like this, I just didn't have the education. And I would advocate for anybody now to get your numbers checked. Even if you don't have issues with your cycle, just get your numbers checked. That's not something that they normally check, but I would say now, knowing what you knowing, your daughters, your nieces, your goddaughters, just have them checked, because some girls have issues young, and they're not thinking about having children, but you're 21 and you find out that you got an FSH of 50, 60, that gives them the opportunity to make choices, freeze their eggs. Nowadays, the picking of men is very, very slim. And so if you're a career-driven woman who wants to have a career and travel, you're not thinking about kids. So now if you have the knowledge of freezing your eggs, you have employers will pay for it, or you can save up, freeze your eggs so that you'll have an opportunity later on in life. We just had a fertility, surprisingly enough, a fertility conference for the women at our church. And one of the members, she went through a couple of rounds of IVF and it didn't work for her. So her sermon, or what she preached, is being okay after the no, fertility. And so she had tried for 4 years, and I think now she's at the point where they're gonna either go to adoption, because they've tried with the IVF, and she didn't even discuss donor eggs. So I'm quite sure that's not something that she was interested in. But now that's exposing other women in the church to the fact that sometimes God allows women to have children naturally, and then reality, some women can't do it that way, but God has created knowledge and science to allow women to become mothers outside of your conventional way. And it's okay. It's no judgment. It's life. And, God blesses children. So how they get here, he created that. And that was something that I also thought about as far as the judgment of, well, maybe, God didn't intend for me to be a mom because I couldn't do it the regular way. But, I would talk to my mom, talk to my sister, and they're like, don't worry about that. Because that's not everybody's story. And so I got the job, and somewhere in me, I was like, okay, this is going to work, and it's going to be quick. And I hit so many roadblocks. Some things you don't know. Sometimes that first lot of eggs, it don't work out. So I was able to get a lot of eggs, and I paid for the sperm out of pocket. And the 2 eggs that they got weren't viable. So I got the eggs in January. They fertilized in February, and I had to wait almost a month to get a replacement lot. So just be aware, of anybody who's using the benefit, that your first round, it might not be successful. So you want to make sure that you find a egg donor bank who at least will give you a guarantee so that you can try again. I got a replacement lot. Chose two different different sperm donor and a different egg donor than my initial process. The initial cycle that I went to at first. Um, the blessing is that they all thawed, and I got 3 embryos, and out of 3 embryos, I got 1 normal and 1 low level mosaic. So I'm now in May because it took a month to get the testing back. So again, you got to remember that this process is not quick, especially if it doesn't work out the first time. And then I also had issues with insurance, my primary versus secondary. My job had flipped it and made my primary secondary, which was Amazon, which mixed things up. I had a fibroid that I had to get removed, and the mix-up caused me to end up having a $17,000 bill. So also just make sure that you're doing your coordination of benefits if you have 2 different insurances, so that you won't get messed up in the process. The issue did get resolved a month later. And so I went through with the process. I got a date in July. But also you got to be ready for any surprises. Anything can come up. And for me, I had fluid in my uterus. They weren't sure of the cause. They wasn't sure. I have a smaller fibroid that's on the outside. They wasn't sure if that's causing it. And so I made the decision, because he was going to let me go ahead and do the transfer. I didn't want to feel rushed. And so I decided to go ahead and cancel.
She reached out to her sisters in every shade, and she said, I have fluid in my uterus. Should I transfer it? And we all was like, no.
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 And that's one of the things that I like grapple with now as I continue with my story. I started doing like all the research of what could help. They said Mucinex, they said Claritin, they said, the big O. And so I'm like, what do you mean the big O? And they're like, the big O, get the job done. And I'm like, oh. And so I waited and I did all the things. I had my bleed, and then I got another date, and I had fluid again. Not as much, but he was confident that if it was still there, he'll drain it and move forward. And I felt that, okay, if he had the confidence that it, should have been okay. I had a great 5AA embryo, a baby boy. And on Monday, when they wanted to check after making sure that everything was good and my lining was good, he drained the fluid and said everything looked good. And so 2 days after was my transfer. Oh, they don't tell you about the process, the wait, the 2-week wait. And so I'm in here thinking that this twinge, this is a symptom. Did it implant? Did it not implant? I did acupuncture before, and I didn't want to get my hopes up, because it could go either way. But I was truly, truly hopeful. And I stayed away from social media. I did everything that I thought I was supposed to do. And I decided to test on Thursday. I was supposed to have my beta on Friday. So I figured a day wouldn't make too much of a difference. And I tested in the morning. And I tested with 2 different tests, and they were both negative. Sorry.
It's okay. There's a lot of women in this chat that have seen negative pregnancy tests. So we all know how it feels because you go through so much. This is the end game right here. And then it's just taken away from you.
Yep. And he was hatching.
Oh, he was beautiful. He was beautiful.
They said that everything looked good, and I knew, it's a 50-50 chance, but I was so, so hopeful. It's been a long year of ups and downs, and, questioning is going to happen, and it's like you can see it and you can touch it, and as they say, pregnant until proven otherwise. So I was like, okay, I was, talking to him, and I was just hopeful, that I was going to see those 2 lines, and I didn't, and I had to be okay with that. But of course, you're heartbroken.
Right.
Because I only got 1 embryo left, and it's low mosaic, and I don't know too much about mosaics. I hear that they have just as good a chance as a normal, but I also still have the fluid, so they said that they felt concerned about that because they don't know what was causing it. Now I'm prayerful that the draining that they did the last cycle, maybe that's something that it won't be, but there's no guarantee. And so you just think about all those things. You question yourself. You blame yourself. I asked myself, well, maybe I should have waited because the fluid was still there. You just think about not putting yourself, for me doing it by myself, I don't want to get overwhelmed with too much debt because I know how much I can handle and how much I can't handle. Like I said, you question yourself about, did I do something wrong? It's just, and I know we talk about it in the group, but we don't go in depth. We don't go in depth about how we feel or what we're supposed to expect or what we're supposed to think at this point. When you have a failed transfer, what do you think? What do you do?
A lot of us, so my first transfer worked. I miscarried. The second one I knew immediately. I was like, it didn't work. It was a lot of things that were going on around me. And for the second time, I said, let me just get back on the wagon and just go head first. And then the third one took, but I still miscarried. So after that, I was like, I need a break. So what I think is there's no right or wrong way to process, especially when it's something that you've wanted. And especially with your story, Dee, of always thinking that nothing goes my way. So now this just fuels the nothing goes my way. And I don't want you to think that, because as me, you talked, and as most of the group knows, like, we love Dee, okay? So I know there's a couple of people who have embryos. So, I mean, I'm just saying, like, we can do this. Listen, animals ain't nothing to go to CNY and get a little transfer for $800, okay? So we can get you a baby. We can get you, baby. All right. We can figure it out. And that's what I told her just in DM, because she was just like, I have one left. And I was like, you don't have one left. There's somebody in that chat. There's somebody in that group who is looking at you and saying, like, we gonna get your baby. You know, that's just how we are. You know, when it comes to the Every Shape community, is we rally behind. And I mean, as soon as she posted that, you know, her results, we rallied behind her and said, this ain't over. You know, we all was like, I mean, even like before she was like, look, I tested, and we was all like, girl, wait to beta. And she was like, y'all, I'm pretty sure it's negative, y'all. And we were like, no, it ain't. We was like, we gonna wait till, and then she posted again. Wait till the blood test.
So what I wanted to do is I wanted to soften the blow if there was going to be a blow. I didn't want to get home Friday and get the call and just not know. Right. And so it did help me because I'd already processed what the answer could be or what the results could be the day before. But it didn't make it any easier because I still had to show up. I still had to go to work.
Yeah.
And I didn't let my job know because I didn't want to announce anything before it even happened. And then I didn't want the sympathy of letting people know. And then if it didn't work, oh, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? Right. So I chose, and I would choose to not do it until I know I'm far enough and comfortable enough to let people know. But it's been a lot of ups and downs, just even trying to protect your peace and trying to figure out who you should tell and who you shouldn't tell. Because it's not easy. I had my moments. But I also decided, I said, you can't stay here. Like every day I play worship music. I've been in worship posture since the beginning of the year. Definitely leaning on my faith more than I ever have, because this is something that only God can work out. This is not something that this is something that God has his hand on. So I know he has me, and I know it's taking a little bit longer. It's a little bit more financially challenging than I thought it was going to be. But I'm confident. I did get a new doctor. I'm going to see a new doctor, a Black doctor that specializes in fertility, to see if she can find possibly the culprit of the fluid, because I don't want it to be even the remnants of fluid or having any issues in the backdrop for this next transfer.
They checked your tubes?
They checked my tubes and everything was clear. So I'm not sure what it could be. I hadn't had a cycle in almost 2 years, so it's not, can't be like, leftover blood or anything. But I did find out when he did drain it that he had to use one of the longest catheters. He had to get on his knees to get all the way into my uterus to drain it. So hopefully maybe that draining was all that needed to be done, but I won't know until the process. But I also did set up for a consultation with CNY, because they have a new location, a satellite location in Norfolk, Virginia, which is about 2.5 to 3 hours away from here. And so I am being productive. I'm not, as Ty Tribbett said, only one night. If you cry only for a night. Of course, it's been a couple more nights than one, but
of course.
But it's a part of the process. It's kind of a grieving situation. I've had a lot of loss in my life. I lost my 2 older brothers when I was 10 and 12. So, like I said, I always feel like, I don't have the best luck. People don't stay. And so my relationships, my exes didn't stay. I felt my brothers didn't stay. So me and my sister kind of had to grow up without having that brotherly protection. My dad was a addict for most of my life. But as y'all see now, he is sober and he's one of my biggest supporters.
I
Even
want
bought
you
him out.
to, if you could you share that story? Because I think that, you know, having a village, comes in different forms. Sometimes you can have a village with your family who will support you no matter what. Sometimes you need it from your friends. Sometimes you get it from the World Wide Web. But she posted something very touching from her dad. And if you were wanting to know, if you're in this chat and wanting to know how to support somebody, Daddy had the blueprint. That's all I got to say. So talk to us and tell, like, what did he say to you that, because Dee came in there, because, she's talking about her emotions, and she said, she's already like, okay, what if I need a surrogate? And people are, she's already, her mind is spinning. And of course, like, when you have a failed transfer, this is all normal. Your mind starts spinning. Maybe I'm not supposed to carry. Maybe I'm not, all these things come through your head. And so she started talking about surrogacy. And then the next day you talked about your dad. So why don't you walk us through that?
Yeah. So like Sharonda said, my head has been spinning. I've had so many different what, why, who, when, where, what am I supposed to be doing? How am I supposed to be thinking? And I thought, okay, I mean, I know this is only my first transfer, but it's like, what if I can't carry? What is the sign that I just won't be able to carry? Then I have to find a surrogate. What does that look like? I've always wanted to, I grieve the process of not genetically having a child. And then I said, okay, well, as long as I'll still be able to carry, then the donor egg route will work for me. Then what if the donor out route doesn't work for me and I can't even carry? So I was like, how many times do you try before you say enough is enough and let me try the surrogate route? And I told my dad that night, because he's always been supportive, didn't really understand the process or what I needed to do. But once I explained it to him, he was on board. He said, whatever I got to do, I'm here, whatever you need. And when I told him that the first lot didn't work, I was like, well, that means I have to buy more sperm, and that's, $1,400. It's like, well, go ahead, I'll pay for it. Go ahead. Don't worry about it. We're going to get the baby. Go ahead and pay for it. I was like, Dad, you paying for sperm? Well, I don't know about all that. So, but go ahead. If you need the money, go ahead. And so, like I said, my dad was a heroin addict for a long time. So he wasn't active in our lives financially, emotionally. So for him to be sober and to be so invested in my happiness of whatever I needed to do to become a mom, he was my number one supporter. And so when I told him Friday night that the transfer didn't work, he sent me this text, and it kind of like solidified what I needed to hear. I heard it from everybody. I heard it from my mom, my sister, my friends, you all. But for my dad to been so invested, he sent me a text message saying that we're not going to give up. So I don't want you to worry about that. We're not giving up. I really feel it's going to happen for you. So whatever you got to do, keep your head up, keep going. I love you. And we're not going to give up unless you're okay to give up. And so that was that extra push that I needed, because I really felt like, okay, well, maybe this is not meant for me. Even though I worked so hard to get to this point, I'm like, okay, if it didn't happen for other people, why would I be special enough for it to happen to me? So I was like really, really questioning the whole process in myself. And like, I really want to thank y'all, because y'all really did rally behind me. It gave me the push, because if I didn't have this platform and I was doing it on my own, I probably would have given up. And so, thank you.
No, no, don't you apologize. Because even though some of these women had their baby, they all were sitting right where you were. right where you were. And Keisha's in the chat with her baby. Latia's in the chat with her baby. Shannon's in the chat with her baby.
And so I really, really, really want to thank y'all from the bottom of my heart. Because I wouldn't have made it this far. I wouldn't be here to even have the opportunity to even think that it would happen for me. And like I said, I've always felt as though, I get the short end of the stick and that certain things may not be for me. But I really, really think that I'll be a mom. And so I still have the fight to continue no matter the heartbreak. I told my first lady that I'm hopeful while broken. And so I'm going to forge on, and I'm still just trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to gather my emotions and figure it out because I have my village, but when I'm home by myself, it's just me. And so sometimes I just sit and think and just I'm so hopeful that it'll happen for me. And I used to early on used to say, well, what if it don't happen?
Right.
And I used to tell my therapist, I think I saw her in here. I was like, I used to say, why me? Why me? Why do I have to have the fibroids? Why did I have to go through menopause? Why all these things that would have broken a regular person, why does it happen to me? And she said, why not you? She used to always tell me, why not you? And so I got to remind myself, that I'm going through something that would have probably broken most people and they would have given up a long time ago. What you said, can't have any kids? Oh well, I'll just be single. I'll just be without kids. And I know God has me becoming a mom. And I know he brought me to the group for a reason. And I know everything happens for a reason. And although this embryo was a 5AA, considered one of the best grades to have, he didn't stick. And so I have this low mosaic, and it was a word my pastor said last week, strengthen what remains. So I do have an embryo left, and I'm praying that if I can get everything together physically wise, that he'll stick. And if he doesn't, I'll have the opportunity, if blessed, to be donated embryos or find a job that has it, and I'll be able to try again at a new clinic because unfortunately my clinic does not accept donated embryos. And
That's
so
okay, girl. We just move.
so how is that process? How is that?
So it just depends. So like my embryos are at Utah. So, y'all know I stand with Utah. So I mean, you could move them to CNY. People, I mean, the good thing about CNY in our group is we have a lot of women who chose CNY. So a lot of times their embryos are there. So pretty much, if it was me in your shoes, I wouldn't pay for Cobra anymore. I probably would move the one embryo to CNY is what I would do.
Okay.
Because their transfers are going to be a little bit less, probably like, I think 800, y'all, or is it 1,000 now to transfer? Which is probably much cheaper than your clinic.
Yeah, they charge $5,000.
Yeah, so it's $800. And meds are going to be cheap. So basically you're just doing to fly out there. So, and you could go to either location. So they're going to do Florida. I think Florida is maybe open now, or is it going to be open? I'm not a CNY patient, so.
Mm.
but there's CNY patients in there. Is Florida open now? You don't have to go to, basically, you don't have to go to New York.
Okay.
Florida is open. So you can move the embryo to Florida, or you can move it to Colorado, or New York. But just pick a place where it's probably more economical for you to go. Probably Florida is going to probably be the cheapest for you to do. And you could do at-home monitoring and then fly to Florida, transfer, and then fly back. Number 2, I think we've all said it, switch doctors. Switch doctors. Personally, draining could be a gamut. Basically, it's a luck thing. There are some people who get it drained. There's some people who wait. We don't know. And I don't want to torment you on if that was the catalyst of your failed transfer. We don't know. That's the thing. We don't know the answers, and we want solid answers to say, okay, this is so I don't repeat the mistake.
Right.
We don't know. But I do know, gauge how you feel with the doctor. You're going to have your WTF appointment. And that literally what that means is what the appointment, what went wrong. You'll talk about maybe alternate routes. Gauge how you feel about him or your doctor and see like if you want to do it again. Personally, $5,000 is a lot for just a transfer. What are they doing?
That doesn't include medication, but with the Amazon discounted program, it's like $600 cheaper, but it's still $4,000, and that includes the medication.
There now. Avocation is key with CNY. We all know that. You need to be on top of it. But at this point, you know what to do. You know how to be on people's neck. Okay. Right. We already know that. Okay. You can be on their neck and be on there every day. They be sick of D. If y'all don't call D back before she call us again, be on their neck is what you need to do. Okay. We all know how to work CNY. All right. That's what we can do.
Okay.
And then I'm not pushing this on anybody or anything like that, but I feel like if somebody in that group wanted to donate embryos, I feel like you would be one that they would look at. You just do too much for our community for us not to think about you. And I promise you, if I had my baby already, my girl, I got 7. What you want, a boy, girl, twins? What you need, girl?
Like I tell you, like I've always been the one to be like, nobody, no one looks out for me. I do for everybody, but when it comes down to it, I'm usually the one that's tailed out, if you will.
Look at Leah. She's like, exactly. What you need, girl? See, I have a tested 5A boy. I'm transferring my untested next month. Look, we got you. We got you.
Yeah.
We are going to pray that baby boy sticks, but if not, you know how we operate. We got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, and Z plan. We got plans. I've been trying to give away these. I've been trying to figure out. I'm like, who should I give my embryos to? I was told Shannon, if I get my baby, you can have my embryos. Then Shannon got a baby. I was like, okay. Then it was another girl. I was like, listen, if I don't get my embryos, you can have my embryos. Then she did something else. I'm like, look, I tried to give him away and y'all don't want him. So, she said, if he don't stick, we got backup plans. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. I promise you on this, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
That's so good to know. Like I said, I was lost.
No, we got you.
Like, okay, I only got one left. But I feel much better because I don't know. Like, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know it's going to happen. So the reassurance of knowing that, somebody's thinking about me to even consider if this doesn't work out makes me feel so much, truly blessed. Like, I have no words, because I didn't know financially. I'm like, okay, how am I can't continue to keep doing this over and over again. I don't want to overwhelm myself and then be stressed. So yeah, it was just so much, on top of just seeing it happen and thinking that it's going to happen, and it didn't happen that time. And so my head is still everywhere, but I'm, like I told you earlier, I'm taking it one day at a time. I'm praying through it. I'm believing that God still got me, and that just wasn't my time, but it will be my time. So I'm, like I said, I can't. There's not enough. It's not enough thank yous for me to just show my appreciation for the ladies, for the platform. I I just have no words. I have no words. And I wasn't going to, as I discussed, I wasn't going to share the results, because I just wasn't ready to openly even accept that it worked or it didn't work, especially that it didn't work. But I knew I wanted to share the rest of the journey. And so I went ahead and let everybody know the results. And I'm thankful that I did, because you all helped me deal with it and gave me the encouragement that I needed to know that sometimes I knew there's no guarantee it's going to happen the first time. But you always are hopeful that the first time you're one of the lucky ones who got it the first time. But I know, I feel it in my soul that it'll happen for me, and I'm thankful that you opened up the door for me to learn more about the process, um, to learn more. And I know that I have a village. I used to feel as though I was alone. Like, nobody knew what I was going through. Who could I talk to? I didn't have anybody to talk to without feeling ashamed or blaming myself or blaming an ex. I stayed with him too long, and those were my baby making years. And it's been a lot going through this process, and for a while not having nobody to talk to about it, or feeling too ashamed to talk about it, especially when you see everybody else having their babies and not having no problems, and that's something that you want. Yeah, when people are asking, when you gonna have kids? I used to get that all the time when my sister had her first. Oh, your sister got kids. When you gonna have kids? And it didn't hurt as much until I really started going through the process of knowing that it might not happen for me. And some people even say, well, maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe you should just adopt. There's a lot of kids out there that you should just adopt. Or maybe you can't carry. Maybe that's meant that you can't carry because it wasn't successful the first time. And so that's, I took all that in. Like, maybe they right. Like, maybe this isn't meant for me. Maybe I should just give up. The heartbreak, the disappointment, being let down, having to let everybody know that it didn't work. But I'm going to continue and forge on, and I know it's going to happen. And I know it's going to happen for anybody who might be in my shoes. That I'm going through it and I'm getting through it. So if I can get through it while I'm in the middle of it, then I know you can get through it. And I'm happy for anybody who it works out for the first time around. Truly blessed. And thank you for the motivation for you even, continue to be in the group after you got your baby. Mm-hmm. You are anointed. And I know, like I told you in the last night, I was like, well, baby, He gonna bless you with double. And you was like, no, I don't need no twins. I don't need no twins.
I know, Lord, please, my mental health, I can't take it.
But I know that it's gonna happen for you. I know it is. And I know it hasn't been easy for you being on your fourth transfer. But I know God has his hand on you. And I know that he is working everything out So even though I know you said you delayed a little bit, but I know he got you because you helped us be where we are. You helped us get through. You helped us gain knowledge and perspective and hope. And so I'm more than thankful and grateful for you. And so I know it's gonna happen for you. So I know you should have no worries at all. You
Girl,
should
I
have.
worry every day.
I know we all do, but I know God got you. So I know that we're all gonna make it up. I know it hasn't been easy for you, but I'm just starting in this. You've been in the game for a while, and you've seen so many members become moms, but you still stand 10 toes down and making sure that everybody got what they need. So I know it's a matter of time before you go get your beautiful baby boy or baby girl. So like I said, I can't thank you enough for all that you've done. Because I honestly, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have even known of the opportunity of donor eggs or becoming a donor mom. So I'm I'm heartbroken, but I'm also happy that I jumped on that live and listened to your story and believed in you and what you were willing to share. Because most people are gatekeepers. They don't share. They don't share because they want it for them, so they don't share information. And I'm thankful that you weren't one of those people. And I know you're gonna get every blessing that comes your way. That's your God-given job. That is your opportunity to be on a bigger platform to share your story. Somebody's gonna put you on a talk show. Somebody is gonna put you in a magazine. Somebody's gonna have you write a book about this process. You're gonna be worldwide. You're gonna help everybody. So you're truly anointed and you're gifted, and everybody's gonna know about you one day. Everybody's gonna know about you, and everybody's gonna know about your story and what you've done to so many, particularly women of color, because we didn't know. We didn't know about this. We weren't aware. We weren't aware. Nobody told us. So while everybody was taking advantage of all this stuff, we didn't know. And so I'm thankful that you shared. I'm thankful that you didn't keep it all to yourself. And so you will be blessed. People will know your name. Whatever you desire, it's coming your way.
I'm really upset with you right now. It's
Coming.
um I'm so grateful for all of y'all. Um I say all the time when I started this platform, it was not, it was for me to find people that I've been always good at creating my own spaces if I don't fit in. And so I needed a space that I could fit in and belong. And so when I started this journey, I thought it was going to be like maybe like 10 women or whatever. But I would feel better about what I was doing and I could help other people along the way. And then, you know, when you make a space and you no longer feel like you fit in that space, it's hard because I was helping women get their babies and I wasn't getting mine. And I was like, They wouldn't even know about this if I hadn't told them, like, what is the deal, Lord? Like, I told them about it. I told them. I'm the reason why they know about it. Like, why would you do this? You know? And I started to become angry. I started to become really, really angry about this. Because here I was in my core group of friends who are having their babies, and I wasn't. And I said, why? Why would you do that? Why would you put me on this journey with all these women and then I not get my baby at the same time? Like, why would you do that? And I got angry. I got mad. And I took a step back. And I said, there has to be something else. What am I missing? And I say this all the time, and I say this in my lives, and I say this to everyone. I'm like, because who I was supposed to be, who I was, that mom, I'm not that mom. I'm a different mom. And this platform, what I built here, would not exist. I would have got my baby, and I would have just did a couple of testimonies. But now I'm truly building something where I'm building a platform where not just 20 women get to take advantage of it. I want it to be a situation where someone, again, because I realize, or I'm starting to realize, that most people don't come in here. They watch me from the page. They watch me from the FYP. And they sit there and they watch this. They will watch me the whole time. You know, I have so many people like, I don't come in, I just sit there and watch you. You have wonderful content. Girl, come here and talk to me so I'm not alone. But I know that I'm reaching people. I know that I'm reaching more people than I ever have in my entire life. And I'm so grateful for all of y'all who took the time to trust me. Not only to trust me, y'all understand when I started this, I thought I was gonna have 5 shows, y'all. Like, literally, I was like, well, I have my admins and a couple people who give me stuff. Like, I'm gonna have 6 and we just gonna go from there. And the fact that I have stories, truly have stories, I'm having to turn people down and tell them that they have to wait. That's truly how big this platform is starting to get. That I'm having to tell people, I can't. When I say somebody drops out, literally drops out, I have 5 to 10 women saying, I'll do it. Do you not understand, y'all? Had I did this a year ago, I couldn't get nobody to speak up. I couldn't get a picture from anybody. Nobody wanted to talk about it. So I'm understanding now that it's all about the timing. Yep. Because had I asked, Shannon was going to do it. Keisha was going to do it. Latia was going to do it. You know, Sherry, y'all. Sherry, who's my first interview, I could not get her to do it a year ago. I couldn't get her to do it. I told her, I was like, it's going to be okay. I couldn't get her to do it. And she was like, I'll be your first interview. I was like, oh my God. What is happening here? What is happening here? Seriously, because I did not know where this is going to end up. And I'm so happy. I'm so grateful for everyone who sits in here, who comes every Monday. D, I'm so grateful for you because I know what you did today was not easy. Because you don't know if you're gonna... I don't want to, like, this is the thing, y'all are all invested in me and I feel like I'm gonna disappoint y'all. Because I may not bring my baby home and I don't... And as much as positive I am, like, you still have those feelings of, am I going to be this? Am I going to do it? Or am I going to embarrass myself? Or am I going to embarrass or I'm going to disappoint everybody? And I don't want to do that. I really don't. I pray so hard. But we all know when you have not made it, that these are things, these are fears that creep inside your mind. And you just say to yourself, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Because this is all I think about. This is all I think about. It is hard. It is so hard. And so I'm thankful for Dee to be so transparent in this moment to say, I wasn't going to share, but I needed to share. This is healing. What is our next step? And I always just tell people, you can sit in whatever you want to sit in, but tomorrow we got stuff to do. We have stuff to do. We got to get this baby tomorrow. We got to get this baby tomorrow. Like, what are you talking about? And, you have to, always just let people know and rally behind you. And that's what we do. We rally behind each other. And I always say, I am not a fan of pity parties. I tell people all the time, I don't do pity parties. I'm a solutionist, and they all know me. I'm a solutionist. I'm like, okay, that's great. You have fluid in your uterus. What's the next plan? What are we gonna do next?
Yep.
Latia is a prime example, and she gonna be in here in the next few weeks. And she was like, okay, I'm done. I was like, okay. And then 2 days later, she was like, okay, maybe I'm not done. I said, I was just waiting on you because I'm ready to go for the next step. Because what are we doing here? Like, we have talked about this, baby. And I'm so glad because she was a beautiful daughter. I don't do pity parties. I really don't. I don't do pity parties. Like, I'll cry with you and stuff, but girl, this is week 2. Like, we still crying? Like, no. Like, what is the next step? Like, what are we supposed to be doing? Like, we got stuff to do.
Yep. Yeah.
We gonna lay down, but we gonna get back up.
Yeah.
We gonna lay down and get back up. And that's what the whole movement of Go Get Your Baby was. Go get your baby. And we know that there's delays. We know that there's trials and tribulations and all those kind of stuff, but we got to get our babies. There are women in this chat because I kept saying, go get your baby. And it was like, when Ronnie said, go get my baby, so I need to go get my baby. And that's what we're gonna do for you, D. We gonna get your baby one way or the other. We gonna get your baby. We gonna figure it out.
I can cry. I can sit here all day long, but you need to move too. So I said, so that's why I went on CNY. And I said, the wait is November, but let me go ahead and get on this list. Let me go ahead and my regular OB, she didn't do anything, or I didn't feel she was confident enough in what I had going on in regards to the fluid to try to figure it out. So let me find a new doctor who has a specialty in this and who is also a woman of color who might look into it more.
So I usually ask towards the end of our interviews. A lot of people have been asking questions anyway, so I think we're good on questions, but I ask this. What would you tell the woman who is sitting here watching this interview? What would you tell her about keeping, just to move forward?
Of course, I would say take the time that you need. It's not an easy decision to even have to go the donor route. I'm just going to be honest. No one thinks or phantom that genetically they won't be able to have a child that has some kind of, something of theirs, a nose or eyes or a facial expression. So no one to have to grieve the process of letting go of genetics for the desire of wanting to become a mom trumps everything. And so be kind with yourself because it's not an easy decision to make. It's not something that everybody goes through. So of course you're going to feel alone and you're going to feel as though your body failed you and that something must be wrong with you because you can't have your own child. But also know that there are other ways that you can become a mom. And it might not look like everybody else's journey. it's not as easy as everybody's journey because there are a lot of unexpected things that can happen because you gotta find a donor. You have to worry about finances. With people who do it naturally, it just doesn't cost. And so don't beat yourself up about it. Definitely have a village. Everybody doesn't have a village. So I know it may be hard to discuss or go over something as sensitive as this because you don't know how people are going to handle that information and how they're going to use it. But just know that if you truly have that burning desire, it's not there just because. It's there for a reason. And if you have the ability, you fight for it. You go through whatever you need to go through, but you fight. If it's a fire that's in you and you know that it's meant to be, you pray about it and you got to continue to fight for it. You'll know when you don't have that fight no more. But if you still have it and you still willing to push through, you still willing to take the highs with the lows, just push through and know that you're not alone in the journey. You're not alone in the journey. And there is a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow. And you'll find it. It'll find you. But you got to be patient and just know that it's not a quick process. It's not. Don't think you can jump into it and everything's going to work out. It does for some people, but in reality, you got to prepare yourself for the journey. It might not be 6 months. It may be a year. It could be 2. But just have faith that it'll work out and just, if you got that fire, fight for it. And if it's meant to be, God will make a way. He's a miracle worker, a way maker, a promise keeper. So if he's promised it, then it'll come to pass. You just got to wait on it and be patient.
And my last question, because this is going to be a little bit different. Because every time I've asked this question, everybody's been holding their baby. You, on the other hand, are not. DNA. When you looked at that pregnancy test and saw that it was negative, did you care about DNA? How did you feel?
I did not care at all. I didn't even think a second at the whole donor idea and the journey that I'd been on. I didn't think about that at all. I just thought about the fact that I don't have my baby. He didn't stick. And I recorded myself in the results. And I just kept saying to myself, I'm not pregnant. I'm not pregnant. It didn't work. And I had to sit with that. I had to sit with that. And I cried. And I thought to myself, like, did I do something wrong? Did I not stay warm? Did I not eat what I was supposed to eat? All the questions came into my mind. And that's when I came to the group and I shared my post. Because I needed to get it out. I needed to express that.
But it didn't matter that it wasn't your DNA. This felt like this was your baby, that you lost your baby.
Yeah. I didn't think anything of the sort. I just said that he didn't stick because I had a name for him. I named him. I told them the name when I was looking at him, and they was like, "Oh, you named him already?" I said, "Yeah, I named him." And so it was just a thought. Like I didn't think anything about DNA. So that's one thing. Everybody says when you hold that baby, you don't think about DNA, and I didn't even get to hold my baby. But just the thought that he didn't stick, that was my baby that didn't stick. And so that it was like I lost a son, even though he didn't get to grow. But I knew he was a boy and he had a name and he didn't stick. And I didn't think about DNA, not one
You
bit.
think about DNA one bit.
No, I just thought about how worth it was for those 2 weeks to even think that I could be a mom, that there was possibly life that I've never happened before. And I was just hoping that he was there. So that's one thing I say also is when you think about it, the process is not like everybody else's, but that's your baby. That's your baby.
I love it. I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you sharing your journey. I appreciate you being so transparent in this moment, because this is not easy to do. It is not easy to get here and sit in front of people and say everything that you said. Your feelings were raw, they're real. And I appreciate every woman who shares her success story, but I honestly appreciate these more. Because I tell people all the time, like, I can tell you what's going on in my brain and you can tell me it's going to work out. It worked out for you. I need to be talking to people who ain't worked out for yet, because I need to know, like, am I crazy? And it's like, no, I feel these things too, because you forget. That's normal. You forget the trenches. We want to forget the trenches because you have other trenches you have to solve. But there's some woman in the trenches who's going to watch this story or is watching this story and knows, like, if Dee's not giving up, I can't give up either. If Ronnie's not giving up, I can't give up either. We gonna go get our babies.
Yeah.
We gonna go get our babies, no matter what it looks like. And it never always looks like what we think it is, you know? So I thank you so, so much. And if nobody has any other questions, we're going to close out.